Did you know over 60% of first-time clients do not return for a second visit? That is so painful, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. This means that Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to joinmaya.com to set up your own personal virtual tour and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We promise you will love Maya.
Thank you for joining me. This is KATI Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. Make your financial freedom a priority. There is no better time to talk about this now that we're in the new year and you are really asking yourself, what is the next year going to look like? I'd like you to think about what does the next 5 to 10 years look like and be even beyond that. There's no better person to be here. High energy. We first met Mel Abraham at the Masters of Balayage event way back last year in the fall in Nashville. He is a USA Today best-selling author, a CPA, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to help people design lives of freedom, purpose, and impact. He spent over 3 decades mentoring entrepreneurs, executives, and individuals sharing proven tools to create financial freedom. He's a global keynote speaker and mentor and has had the privilege to serve and inspire thousands through his talks, workshops, and even millions through his weekly show where he shares proven frameworks to help his audience thrive financially and personally. Don't worry, for everybody listening today, we have the links in our show notes for you to tap into everything Mel offers. You are going to be so tickled to learn from him today. And by the way, if you're watching today's show on our YouTube channel, the link is in the show notes for that. It's fun to see the faces behind the names. This is an incredible man. I'm so thankful he's here. So without further ado, help me welcome Mel Abraham. Welcome to Beyond the Technique.
Oh my God, so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This is so cool.
The pleasure is mine. And you are this high energy go-getter. Has that always been the case, Mel? Like, how did you get into this world of like financial everything? Tell me about your story, your life.
So, I mean, I'm a CPA by education, but clearly I tried to break the mold. Like I didn't fit the mold. And I realized that I wanted to do something more. I wanted to help people live the life that I think they deserve. I think that we're all put here with a calling, with something that we're supposed to nurture. And I wanted to do that. So I went out and with no plan. Okay. So this is not what to do, but I went with no plan. I quit my job at the big downtown consulting firm one Friday night and walked out and never went back. And I had no plan with what I was going to do. Now, some people said, well, you were committed. I said, no, I should have been committed. It was reckless, but I worked out okay. You know, I started to look for opportunities to serve, to make a difference, to help people, and that's how I started in this arena, and just built a presence around it over the last decades of time. So that's kind of how I got here. There was a lot of trials and tribulations along the way. There was all kinds of things between, and I did this while being a single full-time dad. My son came to live with me at 5.5 years old. And so I was trying to figure all of that out and do that all at the same time.
Which is always unbelievable to me, the amount of obstacles that people go through in order to even work towards the things that they dream of.
Yeah.
What are some of those obstacles that you've really overcome in the midst of being a single father to kind of get to where you are now and be able to help so many people?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think this is the tipping point that kind of gave me the premise of everything I teach. Like I said, Jeremy, my son, came to live with me at 5.5. And I had been just recently pushed out by my partner. So I was pushed out with no clients, no client backlog. I had no cash flow, and I had just bought a house. So I was $300,000 in debt, and I have this little boy. I'm going, how do you do it? So I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I got on the treadmill and started running and put my head down, trying to get clients. And now so I'm getting clients in. I'm getting cash flow. Things are hitting and we're starting to work. And one day Jeremy comes running in from school. He says, Daddy, I drew a picture of you to school today. And so I kneel down to look at this picture. Here I am, blue felt tip pen, stick figure, standing in front of two computer screens with a phone in each ear. Jeremy wasn't even in the picture. And like in a moment, a 6-year-old boy gave a mirror into my soul that said, Dad, you're screwing this up. And it was a wake-up call for me to start to understand and say, wait a second. And I was in a type of business where I was swapping hours for dollars. So I had to be part of it. I had to be involved in it. And I had all these people in my head saying, Mel, you got to get work-life balance. That's the problem. You need work-life balance. But the more I thought about this balance thing, I realized that's like a weight in the one side and a weight on the other side, and they're playing tug of war, and that's friction, that's stress. And when I realized balance isn't what we need, it's not what we seek. What we need is harmony, and harmony comes from being intentional with the moments of your life. And I wasn't being intentional with Jeremy, and I could have said, we need the profits so we can have the roof over our heads, so we can do the fun things, but we weren't doing the fun things and he wasn't experiencing it. And if a 6-year-old boy understood what profits were, he would have looked at me and said, Dad, I don't want the profits. I want your presence. And that's what he did. And so it was that moment where I said, how do I separate my earnings from the efforts to earn it? Because until I do, I will always be imprisoned by the earnings treadmill. I will always be running. And that's what gave birth to this concept of the money machine that gave me the opportunity to say, to live a life by choice, to say, no, I'm not going to do that because I have something planned, because my son is going to his football practice and I want to be there, and to have those choices in life. The power of that whole machine, though, came true in 2019, because in 2019, I was traveling the world. I was speaking all over the world. I was masterminding. I was working with startups to billionaires. And I literally stepped off a billionaire's plane, okay, their private plane. And 2 weeks after I stepped off their G5, I found myself in a hospital bed. My life was great, but then all of a sudden I'm in a hospital bed with a doctor looking at me saying, we found a 5-centimeter tumor in your bladder. And I go, what? I'm not a smoker, not a drinker. No one in my family has ever had cancer. We've had plenty of heart disease and everything else, so that wouldn't have surprised me. But in that moment, he says, it's on top of the prostate. We might have to take the prostate out. I can't see the ureter on the right side. We might have to put a bag and a tube in for the kidney. If it's bad, you lose your bladder. If it's real bad, your life's on the line. So like life completely shifted. And what I did is, my son was on one side, my wife was on the other. And I said, shut everything down. Stop everything. I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not doing any more speaking. I'm not doing any more consulting. Stop everything so I can beat the demon. And the thing is that because of the drawing that Jeremy did at 6, and because of what I did to create that freedom, that separation, we didn't suffer financially. I had to fight the cancer physically, mentally, energetically, spiritually, all of it, but I didn't have to fight it financially. And I look at the amount of stress on people today from a financial standpoint. I'm wondering, what's my future like, or am I going to be okay? And I don't think that that's something that any of us should be worrying about. And if we just understood the core principles and some fundamental things, we all could find that path. And I truly have this core belief that financial freedom is a birthright. We just got to go claim it.
Let's dive into that. And by the way, what a powerful experience, life story. I'm sorry you went through what you went through. I'm thankful you made it through to the other side. It sounds like better than ever. It's
Yeah.
offered so much freedom and clarity in ways we'll never understand. And I won't pretend to be able to relate or understand what that's like. I'm just thankful that you were willing to share that with us today, and that this has really motivated you even more to help other people experience financial freedom. So as we all face challenges, they're not if we face them, we will face them, that this isn't an area that they have to be concerned about. How do you do that? How do you go about helping people make financial freedom a priority? And first off, for people listening, like, how would you define being financially free?
So this is a great question. And let me answer one other little piece of this about the challenges in life, because the cancer came in, it went, I went through treatments, I went through surgeries and everything, and I thought I was okay. 9 months later, it came back. And I was spiraling in a dark place, trying to figure out why me, why me, why me? Why is this happening? Who did I wrong? And I was talking to a dear friend of mine, and he says, "You're struggling with this." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You keep searching in your past for something you did that caused the cancer." And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Did you find anything?" I said, "Just darkness." He says, "Well, let me ask you a question. What if it wasn't something you did that brought the cancer? What if it was something you're meant to do? What's the meaning in that?" And I challenge people to sit back and say, when we're going through those hard times, which we will, to ask ourselves, not what did I do to deserve this, but why is this given to me to prepare me for what's next? Because that will allow it, because that allowed me to find value in the cancer to move forward. It's why I wrote the book. Everything from that was spurred from that one conversation. And so that being the case, then you start to look at it and say, now financial freedom to me is that I get to live a life by choice. And this is actually my definition of retirement too, because a lot of people say retirement is an age or something or a stage. It's not. I think it's the moment that you have choice in your life and that you can transition to do things because you choose to, not because you have to, not because of the demands of the checkbook or the demands of the day. But now I get a chance to do things because I choose to. And that number, if we define financial freedom as a number, it's different for everyone. And that's why I say we define it as an aspect, a characteristic in your life. So you can define your life and decide what your number will be. Okay. And when I say financial freedom, it's really that I have enough assets generating enough income that it fully funds my life. And everything else I get to choose to do.
Now, obvious question for majority of people. Is there, hey, you're going to go through the discipline of having less now to have more later? Or is there a way to have all the things that you, and I'm thinking of my generation and the generation that's come after me, of instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
How do we have the things we want now? Or do we need to be patient and not have those things now because we're working to build the assets up first? Like, how do you approach,
Yeah.
especially with salon owners who look at their baby, their business as their baby? Cash flow is king in this particular business model. And that's something they've become accustomed to. Now, it's also a very tough business model because the minute you lose a team member, you lose their clients and revenue. That doesn't happen in corporate America. You lose a team member, you lose a great resource, but you don't literally lose your customers or your
Yeah.
revenue. So, how would you coach salon owners in this situation of really identifying, like, what do you need to do now to set yourself up for a freaking awesome future that's like sustainable and secure?
Yeah. So this is a wonderful question. I don't believe that you will find the path to a rich life through deprivation. It's just not going to happen. However, you will find it through discipline. Okay. what I tell people to do when we start to do a financial plan, or we start to work with people that are trying to build it, first things first, get a really clear vision of what you want your life to be like. It's not what the media says, social media says, not what the neighbor says, not what siblings say, parents say, not what your degree or your training is. What is yours? And because you were put here to live that life, not someone else's. You know, Bronnie Ware wrote a book, The 7 Regrets of Dying, and one of the biggest regrets is at the end of their day, she was a hospice nurse. At the end of their days, they said, I realized I didn't live my life. Wow. No, live your life. So now you have a vision for your life. Now you can turn around and say, well, what's the price tag? What's it going to take to be there? But that's aligned with your values, which then leads to this question about, how do you enjoy today and move through it? When you create the plan for your journey to financial freedom, I tell my clients and students to always make sure that you are putting in between 2 and 4, what I call visceral joy points in the plan. You're not living on beans and rice. There's just no joy in it. And if you don't enjoy the path to financial freedom, you'll not enjoy the destination. But rather than spending your life and your money on momentary pleasures that are spontaneous that you see, first, make sure you're funding the things that bring you tons of joy. Like my wife and I love to travel, okay? And we don't do it on Spirit Airlines, okay? So we know that our year is built, our life is built around that joy point. What are we going to do here? And we put it in the plan. It's funded in the plan. So we are experiencing joy on the journey. It may not be everything we wanted, but it's enough to keep us going during the difficult times. And we're getting that fulfillment because we took the time to be introspective and define what really matters to us. And if you're in a committed relationship, a marriage, an intimate relationship, y'all need to do it together. It's a life you're building, not a bank account.
Mm. That's so good. Should salon owners bank on their business being the end all be all for themselves? You shared before the recording a very depressing stat, which was that 80% businesses listed never sell. So I suspect that we shouldn't bank on this one thing, but you tell me. And what can we do to kind of empower them to think beyond what their current business?
So no, I don't think you should bank on the fact that the windfall that's going to set you up is the sale of a business, because there's too many things that are out of your control, and anything can happen. You know, the moment you decide that you want to sell, we, God forbid, head into a COVID type of situation. Now it's not sellable. And now it's declined, and you put your whole future in it. And so what I want people to do is say, all right, I'm going to build. And I went through this I had a martial arts studio for 11 years. Same thing. Okay. And did I sell it? Yes. Did I sell it for, it didn't set me up. I was set up otherwise, but the bottom line is I wasn't dependent on it. So the way to look at your business is that it is a cash flow machine. People come to you, they work with you, you are helping them feel better about their lives. I mean, they may see it as they're getting styled and all that stuff, but really you're really helping them feel better at their lives. And that produces a cash flow. That cash flow is the fuel to your freedom. And the mistake is that we have been indoctrinated into a society that is an earnings mentality only. They tell you to go get a good job, go get a good career, go get a good profession, go get a good license, go build a good business. Just earn, make money, make money, make money. Now you'll be fine, as if that's the answer. But how many of us know a lot of people that make a lot of money and they don't have 2 nickels to rub together? And that's the thing, is that earning more doesn't make you free. The money machine does. And that freedom starts the moment we can get our money to work harder for us than we did for them. And that's so I want you to use the business to make sure that you have a portion of that cash flow that's coming in as a priority to move towards building assets outside the business, outside your efforts. And now you're building something over time that will grow over time. And then at some point, you're at a tipping point where you get to go to business because you choose to, not because you have to.
Mm. Well, I was taught once that you build wealth with business acquisitions, real estate, or stocks. What's your opinion on where the money could be moved into to build assets?
So here's how I follow things. There's something I teach called the wealth priority ladder. I want you to build an unshakable financial foundation before we start to do some other things, because otherwise it's unstable. So the first thing that I will have people invest in typically is stocks. Okay. For a couple of reasons, and I'll explain why. Just assuming everyone that's listening for the most part are business owners. So they have the business piece part of it that is the fuel to start buying the other assets. And I would start with low cost, low fee index funds or exchange traded funds, ETFs. And the reason for that is because if I buy another business interest, it's going to require my effort. So now I'm not actually getting closer to where I want to go. I'm getting further away from where I want to go, because now I've got two treadmills I'm running on instead of one. And then I'll explain why real estate isn't the starting point in a second, once we understand why stocks are. So I don't want you to buy individual stocks. And there's too hard to miss. You might hit a home run. You might hit, like as the moment we're filming this, Amazon has jumped probably 35 points, $35, but you can't predict that. So rather than trying to predict the next Amazon, the next Google, buy the whole market, the S&P 500, the 500 top companies in the US, or the total stock market, thousands of companies in the US. On average, it returns 8 to 11%.
I'm gonna guess 7.
Okay. And so now you have a diversified portfolio, it's liquid, and it goes up 8 out of 10 years. And it's easy, it's simple. You can still do your job and all that stuff, and you don't have to spend a lot of mind space or effort to keep it going. Now, the reason I don't like real estate as the starting point is because of this. First, real estate has more friction to it to get in and out, selling costs and everything, but it also requires more capital to start. If I'm going to buy one piece of real estate, I might need $50,000, but I can get into ETFs and index funds with 500, with 100. Okay. And the problem is, even if I had the 50,000 and I buy one piece of property, I have one piece of property. I have no diversification. And if I don't buy it properly, I'm in trouble. I have a friend who he bought an office building, a small office building. He decided that he wanted to do some work in it, and he brought a contractor in, and the contractor looked and he says, "You got asbestos in the ceiling. You have to remediate before we do any work." And he says, "Well, what's that going to take?" So he brought a remediation team in.
$500,000. I'm kidding.
It was $150,000. He had to get rid of all the tenants at the same time. So he brand new building, mortgage, insurance, taxes, no tenants, $150,000, 2 months to get it done. Then they did the improvements, and then he had to lease it again. And so the challenge with starting with real estate is, if you get a bad deal at the beginning, it destroys you. So I want critical mass. And now all of a sudden, if I want to move into real estate, once I have that, great, because I can sustain myself if there happens to be a bad deal, or I have a bad tenant, or something happens. So that's how I would do it. And then we can talk about some accounts and stuff. But the bottom line is that I just want you to get into the habit and automate it. So automatically, and we tell people I would like to push people to get to 20 to 25% of their income going into investments. And so at some point, I just want to make sure that the business is being run, and that is a line item that's automatically transferred for investing and building your future.
Brilliant. So you come alongside owners, entrepreneurs, and you help them craft this strategy. Can they learn how to do this themselves with your book? Are you taking clients? What does that look like for you?
There's a couple things. They'll learn a lot of the details and everything from the book. I also have a course, a virtual course that they can take to go deeper. Here's my belief. My job isn't to create codependent relationships with my clients. My job is to equip, educate, and empower them to take control and have their hands on the wheel. Even if you have a financial advisor, y'all, if you have a financial advisor that's handling things for you, they should not be the captain of the ship. You're the captain always. You always make the decisions. They're just the navigator and the deckhands helping you make the decisions. They have to inform you, so you make the decisions. They don't do it for you. So I'm here to try and equip and educate and answer and guide and make sure that they're doing it, because at some point, God forbid, I'm gone. And then what? I don't want people dependent on me. I want independent, financially independent people that can not only do it for themselves, but then they can pass it on to their heirs, and not the assets, but the skill sets.
That's big. Passing on the skill sets, because the assets will come if you have the skill sets, right?
I have a chapter in my book that says skill sets before assets.
Yeah. Well, we got to get everybody to copy your book. So everybody, the link in our show notes includes a direct link to purchase this book, which is Building Your Money Machine. Building Your Money Machine by Mel Abraham. We have that link for you in our show notes. And if you're watching today, you just see how cool it is. It's behind Mel, and we can see a copy of his book and his brand. So as a CPA, are you still a CPA for people?
I still have my license. I take on 3 to 4 families a year where I act as their family CFO. Okay. And then I do about 5 to 8 people a quarter where I help build their actual financial plan, give them the portal and the whole thing. So we plan it out, and we go all the way to age 95. This is the rest of your life for now. And then you can tweak the assumptions as you go, but we build this dynamic plan. That's how I work with people. I don't take on people's money to manage it for them. I work with them to make sure and I work with their advisors to make sure that they're not missing things. Because sometimes you'll get a tax person that tells you to do one thing, but it's a bad decision when it comes to the finances or legality, because they're only looking at it through their eyes, and I look at it from all aspects.
So really, options for everybody listening are: number 1, get the book. Number 2, you could go through the course. It could kind of be a ladder. So starting with that, and then the course would be the first couple steps, which perfect timing for people to really devote themselves to making this the year that they buckle down and figure this out. Mel, before we're done, what do you want to see change for small business owners in the next year? And what would be some final words of wisdom for them, for all of them?
I think that what I would love to see change for them is to feel a little more certainty around their business. The challenge is that with the conversations I've had as I've traveled and spoken and everything, is that there's a number of folks that are waiting for certainty to arrive on their doorstep. But what we need to do is claim it. We need to go out and grab it. And the way we grab it is to ask ourselves, what are the things that I can control? And am I controlling them? And what are the things that I cannot control? And can I prepare for that? And leave the things that you cannot control off the table, out of your mind. Don't let it stress you, because you can't control it anyways. I can't tell you what the market's going to do. I can't tell you what the politicians are going to do. Can't tell you what the economy is going to do. So why should I get all stressed out about it? What I need to do is say, here's the list of things I can control. Let me pull these dials and do that, because now I know that I am doing everything I can to move and navigate my life to the path that I want. And knowing that I might have to adjust here and there as we go through it. And I think if I was to leave folks with something, is I go back to one that I believe that financial freedom is your birthright, but it isn't the money that we want. See, the money is simply the paintbrush to paint the masterpiece called your life. And so get really clear on the life that you want is, and to know that you're each a gift and that you were given something when you were born, that you were asked to nurture whatever the power is, whatever you believe in. But to nurture, to really develop it, to live in alignment with those values and with that vision, to really bring it to life, to know that you've lived that life fully. So at those last moments when you're ready to step in, and everything, you are tired, you are sweaty, you are dirty, but you're happy. And you have that gift that was given to you. And you look back at all the people that you had a chance to live with and experience with, and you hand it back to them because you can't take it with you, and say, you take it, I'm good to go. And it was a hell of a run. That's a life well lived. And that's why I do what I do.
Wow. You're amazing.
Thank
I'm so
you.
happy that we got to do this together. And I feel very, very grateful that you would take the time to be on our platform for this. And for everybody listening, I hope you feel the same sense of gratitude and excitement and just this moment of being able to go and grab and take and do what you can with what you are able to control. And I love the foundation of creating that vision of really picturing the life that you want, not what everybody else says you should want, but what you actually want, and then quantifying it, but also what's the quality part. So I just love having you here, and I just really appreciate you, Mel. Thank you for coming.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This was a gift to me.
This is so great. Until next time, everybody, I want you to stay strong. Have an awesome day. If you love this platform, please take a moment to leave us 5-star review wherever you're listening so that more people will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, take care.